Good morning. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season. I hope you enjoyed some time with your family, and I hope you came back refreshed, ready to go into the second semester of the school year. I know that the holiday season is always a wonderful time for me and my family, and I know it is for you as well. And it's good that we have these holiday seasons so that we can have a little respite, have a little R&R, enjoy our families, get re-energized so that we can come back to school. But as all good things must be, this too comes to an end, so it's time for us to go back to work. I want to compliment you for the great things that you've done the first semester of this school year, and for many, many years for that matter. But we've had a very good first semester. It's been very difficult in many regards. Many of you have worked very hard. Many of you have worked harder than you ever have before. And I know that some of you have told me that. And I know that you have. But it's all for a good cause, and we're all moving in the right direction. And I would like to spend just a moment or two this morning to talk to you about a few things that are very important to you, and that some things that you need to know about as you move into this next school year. The first thing I want to talk to you about is our curriculum and our testing situation that we have. As you know, this year, we're operating under a new curriculum. And as you know, the standards have been raised, and they're far higher than what they ever have been before. As a result of that, we have done some things this year to get ready for the new tax tests that have caused us some stress. Well, I would like to talk about a few of these issues this morning, and hopefully talk about some ways that we can do things better for you, for our students, and that we can work together for the good of everyone. First of all, I'd like to talk to you about the new tax standards that have been set. The State Board of Education did set these standards. They're going to be phased in over a 3-year period. So next year they will be at one level and go up for the next 2 years thereafter. That's the good news, that they will be phased in. But the other side of the story is, even with the phased in standards, the projections range from 85% of the students are projected to pass the third grade reading to only 44% of the students are projected to pass the exit level language arts test this spring on the first level. In mathematics, it ranges from 85% are projected to pass third grade math to only 58% are projected to pass the exit level mathematics. So the standards are still pretty tough, even though they are going to be phased in over a 3-year period of time. The good news for us here in Duncanville is that we have been working hard. You have been working hard, and we have been focused on the text. We have been focused on the curriculum. And we've given a series of 6-week tests this year that have shown where we are, and we should feel pretty good about our progress. One reason we should feel good about our progress is this: the passing standards, that is the number of questions that must be mastered or answered correctly in order to pass a test, this next year for all grade levels is somewhere in the low 50s. Some are slightly below 50 and some are in the mid 50s, but most of them hover around 50%. And when you compare that to the scores of our students on our 6-week assessments that we've been doing, we should be online to far exceed the state averages. And of course, our goal is to be recognized or exemplary, which means to have at least 85 or 90% of all of our students passing all of our tests. So I believe that we're moving in that direction. Now, the testing sequence itself has caused a lot of stress on a lot of people because of the work that's involved. Now, I am filming this video prior to us making a final decision on what we're going to do on the testing for this year and for next year. However, your principals do know what that final decision is, and they will be talking to you about that this morning, and possibly some of you already know about it. But we're going to make some changes that hopefully that will give you back more time, yet maintain the level of intensity that we need to have as far as our focus on this new curriculum is concerned. So I wish you well as you talk with your principals and as you talk about what's going to happen with the testing. But don't forget what our goal is. And our goal is to provide you time, but to make sure that our students progress as they should. The second topic I want to talk to you about today has to do with teacher and staff transfers. As you know, we're building 2 new elementary schools. As a result of that, we're going to have to rezone all of the elementary and the intermediate attendance zones because the 4th graders will be leaving Brandenburg, necessitating us rezoning the intermediate schools as well. And that's going to have an impact on teachers. Let's talk first about the redrawing of the attendance zones themselves. The board established a committee of citizens and educators to work on the rezoning of the attendance zones. They had their first meeting on December the 2nd. They have a series of 4 meetings set in January. In fact, they had one tonight, January 6th, and then they had 3 more meetings in the month of January. They have a public forum set for February 6th, and they hope to present a preliminary plan to the board on February 24th. Hopefully, they will complete their work by mid-March. If they can do that, that's really going to help us in what we need to do. We will not be able to know exactly how many teachers are going to need to be at each campus until we know what the number of students will be on each campus. And we won't know that until the attendance committee has completed its rezoning efforts. So that's the game plan on the redrawing of the attendance zones. Now let's talk about how that's going to have an effect on teachers. Naturally, there are some of our campuses, such as Central and such as Fair Meadows and such as Hastings and such as Acton, that have more teachers right now than what they will need next year based upon the lowered enrollment. There are some campuses that have no teachers now, such as Bill Hart's and Hyman, and they've got to have a full staff. So there's going to have to be some movement among our elementary teachers and some among our intermediate teachers as well. What we want is to have a fair system for everyone. We want to have a fair system for every staff member. But you know something that's more important than having a fair system for our staff? That's having a fair system for our students and making sure that we end up at the beginning of next year with a balanced quality faculty at every campus. Now, your principals have a set of guidelines and procedures that we're going to use, and those guidelines will have been finalized after the taping of this video, so I'm not going to be able to go over the details of that with you, but your principal will be able to pass those out to you today or tomorrow and let you see what the process and procedures are. I can talk to you about a few parameters, though, that will be included in those procedures that your principals will pass out to you. First of all, we must understand that although we want to meet the desires of teachers, the needs of students will take precedence over the desires of teachers. It will not be fair to start a school with 2/3 to 3/4 of those teachers being brand new teachers that are new to the district. That would not be fair. We've got to have a balance of experience, and we have to have a balance of knowledge and strength in each of our faculties. So we've got to look at that. Secondly, we must support the role of the principal in making staff selections. Seniority will be used as a consideration in making the transfers, in honoring transfer requests. But the principal must be given the final authority to decide who will be coming to her or his campus. The third parameter I want us to talk about is this. No decisions will be made for any one teacher about a transfer until the decisions are made for every teacher, because we've got to keep everything in balance and make sure that we have a total handle on the transfer situation to make sure we provide the best possible situation at every school. The only decisions that have been made thus far have to do with the self-contained special education units at Central, Alexander, and Merrifield. We have determined that those units at Alexander and Merrifield will go to Hyman Elementary, and those at Central will go to Bill Hart's. But other than those decisions, we've made no decisions about who is going to be going to what campus. So you have my word of honor on that we're going to work the process as fairly as we can for you and for the students and give everyone a fair shot at having a transfer or staying on the campus that she or he is on at this particular time. Hopefully, again, the redrawing and attendance zone committee will complete their work by mid-March. If they can do that, then we will be able to let you know about the transfer sometime in April. I'm not going to say if it's April 1 or if it's April 25th, but sometime in that time frame is when we will let you know about the outcome of the transfer request. The next thing I want to talk to you about is construction. I want to give you a brief update on our construction cycle. As you know, we have a lot of things going on. We're still underway with building 2 elementary schools, Hyman and Bill Hart's, and the progress on those buildings is moving right along. We should have no problem with them opening on time. But we have a lot of other things going on as well. We have an addition going on at Alexander. That will also be ready by the fall of 2003. In addition, this summer at Alexander, Acton, Central, and Merrifield, we're going to have some fairly major renovations on those 4 campuses. It will necessitate moving everything out of those campuses. And I know that's going to be a hardship on you, but it's going to be worth it because you're going to come back into a school that's going to have a major facelift. Each one of the areas will have some of their core areas redone. Office areas, libraries, and such on various campuses will be redone. Also, the security of each building is going to be greatly upgraded, and that as we go through this process for all campuses, we will be establishing controlled access points where we can make sure that we have a much more secure campus. So that's something that each of you need to look forward to. Also this summer, we're going to air condition all the elementary gyms. I know all you elementary PE teachers out there will be happy to hear that finally is going to happen this summer. You have my word on that. Also this summer at Central, Smith, Daniel, Alexander, and Reed, we're going to be redoing your parking lots and your driveways, and that's going to be a great upgrade. Now, all elementary and intermediate campuses will have parking lot and renovation upgrades as needed on those campuses over the next 2 to 3 years. But logically, we can't do them all in 1 year, so we're starting with these campuses that I mentioned, and we will progress over the next 2 to 3 years to get this all done. I do want you to know that we're going to be spending over $6 million this summer on the renovations that we're going to do on the elementary campuses this summer, including the parking lot, so it's quite an expenditure. Let's talk about the high school. High school construction is well underway. You can't drive on that campus without noticing that. The academic wing that's being built in between Building 8 and the natatorium is underway. It should be complete by February 2004. In addition to that, the construction has begun on the new competition gymnasium and the practice gyms. Those should also be complete by February 2004. Now we hope that the competition gym can be complete in time for the San Tremendous tournament in December of 2003, but that's not a guarantee, but that is a hope. In addition, the baseball and softball facilities are well underway on their construction, and they will be ready for the seasons this spring. In addition, Phase 6, the construction of the library, the career and technology areas, the fine arts, and the renovation of the West Campus will begin in the winter of 2004, and then will progress through and be finished then in the fall of 2005. So it's going to get there. It's just going to take us a while to make it all happen. Then, of course, all the work at Reed and at the 9th grade school and all the intermediate schools and other elementary schools will take place between now and the fall of 2005 as well. So we have a lot of work to do, and we've got a lot going on right now, and I realize it's going to cause some difficulty for you from time to time, but we just got to keep our eye on the prize and see what the end game is of this entire process. Remember, we have a $166 million bond issue spread out over 4 years of work, and so there's a lot of things that we're going to have to do to provide the type of facilities that you deserve to work in and that our students deserve to go to. Final thing I want to talk to you about today is the budget. You may have read a lot in the paper or heard on television about problems that the state of Texas is having in funding. The estimates are that the state of Texas will be in this next biennium anywhere between $4 billion to $12 billion short. I don't know where it is, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and I don't know if it's where in between the 4 and 12 million, but any of those numbers are staggering. We're going to do good in public education as a whole to hold our own on the type of money that we get. In Duncanville, I want to take a proactive stance as far as the potential for financial problems and be ahead of the game and not to be reactive, but to make decisions in advance that will make sure that we do what we need to do. Let me give you a couple of examples. Last year, in this current school year, compared to last year, we received this current school year $4 million new revenue. That's $4 million more revenue than we had last year. Almost $3 million of that went into teacher salaries, other staff salaries, and in employee benefits. This year, we're looking at having new revenue somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million. In other words, we're looking at somewhere between an eighth to a quarter of the same amount of money extra as we had last year. So you can understand that's not very much new money, especially when we're opening 2 elementary schools. We've got to pass on salary increases. We've got to increase health insurance benefits, all the different issues that we have to address. We do not have much new money, so we're going to have to be very careful in our budgeting. As a result, I am going to recommend to the board, and have recommended to the board, and they have not yet approved, but if they approve my recommendation, I'm going to recommend that we do a totally new budgeting process, one that you're not used to and one that will totally change the way that we do budgets. I've entitled this budgeting process First Things First. And the reason for that is because the concept of first things first sums up what I want our budget to do, and that is to fund first those things that are of most importance. The whole premise of this budgeting process that I'm proposing is this, that we stop and ask ourselves this question: what is the single most important thing that we do here? And what is the single most important expenditure that we make? And we ask that in every program across the district. So every program manager asks that question: what's the most important thing that we do? And what's the single most important expenditure that we make? And then instead of starting where we are right now and going up or down, we start all at the same place, which is with nothing, and build up. And we say, what is the most important expenditure and what is the most important need that we have? And we build up our budget in that manner. We have to set priorities. We have to understand that some things take precedence. For example, let me give you an example. In program budget studies that have been done in countless different districts, there's one thing that always comes out as the number one expenditure in that district, and it doesn't take rocket scientists to figure out what it is, and that's elementary education. Putting a teacher in the classroom for every 22 elementary students is the most important thing that most school districts do, or that's what most people would say is the most important thing school districts do. And I happen to believe that because when you think about the foundation, the bedrock of what we do in this district, if we can get kids at the primary level to read and to write and to do mathematics, or in my country way of saying it, to read and write and cipher, if we can get them to do that, then how many of our educational problems are solved? So you've got to look at it from the standpoint of what are your priorities. Now, let me give you a very homespun example of what I mean by setting priorities. If you and your spouse or you and a friend want to go out to eat into a movie and you have $50 between you, and that's all you have is $50, you have to make some choices about what you want to do. Your choices may be, okay, let's go to McDonald's and then we can go to the movie of our choice. Or else you might say, okay, well maybe if we're careful, maybe we can go to Chili's and order one hamburger and split it between the two of us and we can still take in the movie. However, if we want to go to the Outback and each of us get a 12-ounce ribeye, then we're not going to be able to go to the movie. Now, what we may be able to do if we're going to go to the Outback and get the ribeye, what we may be able to do is go by Blockbuster on the way home and pick up a $2.98 special and go home and watch it. And the reason why I use that as an illustration is you can understand it because you live it every day of your life. We've got to take the same practical approach to our budgeting in school business. We can't do everything. We've got to choose what is most important to us and do it. When I was a freshman in college, I went to a small private school and we were required to take Bible. And my Bible teacher my freshman year was Jerry Jones, not the owner of the Cowboys, totally different person. I knew this Jerry Jones long before I ever heard of the Jerry Jones that owns the Cowboys. But he was a great teacher. He's one of the 2 or 3 best teachers that I've ever had. And he always talked to his freshman class about a concept that he called majoring in minors. And of course, he had a religious twist to it because he was a Bible teacher. But I would like to take that same context over to what we're talking about here, because what he said was, many people live their lives majoring in minor things without really ever coming to grips with what's really important. And so at the end of the day, or at the end of their life, they look back and they find that their life is vain because they really haven't done that which is important. And he encouraged us as freshmen not to major in minors, but to major in majors. I take that concept over to what I'm talking about budgeting here. What I'm asking you to do is to not major in minors, but to work with me to focus on really the important things, the big rocks, if you will, that we need to put into the bowl first to make sure that we get them in. I want to be honest with you. The budgeting process that I'm going to propose is going to upset some people. Some people will feel very uncomfortable with the process that we go through. But I assure you that if we go through this process, it will be an open system, It'll be an open process. It will be a process that will help us to ensure that we do those things that are most important, that will allow us to ensure that we do first things first, and that we truly meet the educational needs of the students of this district. We don't have enough money to do everything we want to do, so we've got to decide what's most important, and we've got to do it. You've got a lot of work to do. You're great people, and I appreciate very much from the bottom of my heart the work that you do. I appreciate the leadership that we have from our principals on a daily basis. I appreciate the leadership that we have from the central staff. But most importantly, I appreciate the work, the leadership, the diligence, the dedication, the love, the concern of every classroom teacher that works on a daily basis with his or her class and does what is necessary to meet the needs of the students of this district. Thank you. God bless you. Have a tremendous day, and I look forward to us having a wonderful year.